Hi everyone, this is Julia, Rivers class of 2015, and today I'll be explaining an app called Notability. So Notability is a great app to use if you want to record in-class lectures or write down diagrams or anything that you wouldn't really be able to do typing on a computer. Notability lets you use your own handwriting, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. But first, before I go over all the features of Notability, I'd like to show you how I organize it. So if we just go back, when you first open your Notability, you'll see a bunch of different folders, and you can create these. If you push the plus button, you can create a subject which holds your notes, or a divider in which you can put different subjects. So for example, I have a Rivers 2014-2015 tab, and in there I have a senior project folder, and that's where I'm working right now. So it's a great way to organize your notes from different classes. I also recorded my lectures from biology, so I have those there, and I also recorded some things in stats. So, it's nice to be able to organize your notes very easily. So I'll just go back into our example note. So today I'm going to go over the 6 main tools of Notability, and I'll also go over sharing and recording and some other things like that. I'm using a special stylus called a pencil, different type of pencil obviously, and this one actually charges and it works with an app called Paper, which I'm not showing today, but it also just works as a regular stylus. You can also get a really inexpensive stylus at Staples for like $5 to $10 if you want, or you can just use your finger, so it's totally up to you. So the first tool that I wanted to show you is text, and if you just go up to the top middle of your screen, there are 6 different options, and it's the one all the way over on the left. So this is basically like typing, and to start you just tap anywhere you want to type, so I'll tap right under where it says tool number 1. My cursor shows up. So there are a lot of different options. You can indent with these buttons all the way on the left. You can also change the font. Right now it's on Helvetica, but you can change that. You can change the font size. You can also change the color, and those are the standard colors for all of Notability. So if you want, you can match your notes that you've handwritten with the notes that you're typing. And then it has the usual bold, italics, underline. And then the little A, B, and C with the hearts took me a while to figure out, but they're actually favorites. So what you can do is you can pick a font favorite or something that you want as your default, and that way if you're doing a lot of edits or you want to have multiple formats in your notes, you can just go and click on those options instead of having to reformat it every single time. And then the last option all the way on the right is bullet points. And this keyboard just works just like your regular iPad keyboard. So it's a nice option if you don't want to use Google Docs or Microsoft Word. You can have all of your notes in one place. So the second tool that I wanted to show you is the pencil. And this is the one that I use most often. So the pencil or the pen is used for writing. You can use it without doing any sort of zoom. You can just write on your screen. And obviously there are different colors and thicknesses, but I'll just click undo for that. What I'd like to show you is the hand rest. So if you click the little plus in the bottom right of the screen, this little window shows up, and that's a zoomed in view. And you can move it by dragging the window in the top part of your screen. So let's say I wanted to look at this writing here. What I can do is all the way on the right side of the little bar that showed up, there are 3 lines. If I drag those up and down, that creates a hand rest. And then I can rest my hand in the lower part of the screen, right down here. And that way, my elbow or my wrist won't smudge the writing as I'm writing. So I'll get rid of those. The other option is the zoom, which I already showed you. And then these little buttons on the top right of the screen, right up here. The left one moves the window to the left, the right arrow moves it to the right, and then the enter moves it down. So if you want sort of like an automated spacing, that's a great option too. You can also change the color by clicking the pen icon, and you can pick any of these colors and any of the thicknesses. So let's say I wanted a really thick pen and I wanted to do orange. You can adjust it that way. You could also do something really thin, and you could do, say, dark blue, and the colors will write over each other too, which is really nice. So I just provided some examples of different colors and thicknesses on the right, so you can sort of see how that works. The next tool that's really helpful is highlighter. So that's the third tool along the top. And highlighter has the same options with the hand rest and the zoom in the bottom right corner. And then to change the color, it's pretty much the same. It has the same colors. The difference is the opacity. So if you click on this, let's say I wanted a green highlighter. If I just highlight, you'll see it's a little bit paler. And if you highlight over writing, it'll go underneath it. However, if you do a second layer, it shows up darker. So if you want to shade or highlight something, you can highlight it with your highlighter without actually covering what you wrote, which is really handy if you're going through notes or putting in keywords or vocabulary or anything like that. The next tool is the eraser, which is pretty self-explanatory. I'll just get rid of my zoom window. One thing that's really nice about the eraser, though, is in a conventional eraser, like pencil and paper, you would have to erase every single mark, but with the eraser on Notability, if you just go through any part of the mark that you've created, it'll erase it. So if I draw a straight line through this entire box, it erases the whole thing. So you do have to be careful that you don't erase too many notes at once, but it is nice that you can just erase this without having to go through the entire box. It's a lot faster. And let's say I did erase something I didn't want to. You can just push the back button, which is in the top left hand of the screen. It's right there. And if you click that once, it'll undo. If you push and hold it, you'll get a redo option. So let's say you erased something but you didn't want to. You can undo that and redo it. The next option is the scissors, and I think this is the most fun option on Notability. This allows you to really customize your notes or move something around if you don't like it. So I drew this little Rivers writing, and what you can do is if you select the whole thing, you can move it around. So I'm taking 2 fingers, and if I pinch, makes it smaller, zoom makes it bigger, and you can also twist it around. It's a lot of fun too. So if you're creating like a diagram or something, it's really helpful. What you can also do, this is very similar to the eraser where you don't have to fill in the entire thing. So let's say I wrote Rivers here. Then if I want to take my scissors and cut through the whole thing, even if I don't get the whole R, it'll still move it around with it. And even if I zoom in and zoom out and everything, the whole document that you've written, the whole message you've written will stay together. So that's one really nice feature. Notability is very forgiving, which is nice. The last tool that they offer is the hand, and that's the one just to the right of the scissors at the top of the screen. So if you're going through your notes and you don't want to make any marks accidentally, if you just put it on the hand, you can use one finger to flip through your notes, and you won't create any marks or erase anything. If you're using your pencil mode or highlighter mode or any other mode, you need to use 2 fingers just next to each other in parallel, and that way it'll basically do the same thing as the hand. It won't create any stray marks on your notes. You can also manually zoom in and out of your notes when you're typing or writing or anything like that, if you don't want to use the designated zoom mode. One really nice feature is that you can add your own images and everything. So if you take the arrow, if you follow the arrow to the plus sign in the top right corner, this plus adds all sort of the advanced features of Notability. So you can take your own photo with your camera. You can also attach a photo from your photos. I'm not going to allow it now, but you definitely can. And then there are different figures you can add in too. So let's say you wanted like a really nice straight line. It'll straighten it out for you, and you can click done, and then it'll input that picture. So I'll undo that. You can also add a bunch of other things. You can add a web clip, or you can add a sticky note. So there are a lot of options there that are sort of fun to figure out. The last thing that's really helpful is recording. So the recorder is right here, and if you click the recorder, it automatically starts recording. And then to view your recordings, you click the little down arrow to the right of the microphone, and you can play them. You can also check the little gear button, and you can manage your recordings, and you can erase different ones or change the speed when you're playing back. That option is over on the left side. So there are a lot of options if you want to record a lecture and then listen to it more quickly. One thing I did learn this year is that you're required, I think by law, to check with a teacher if you're going to record a lecture, so just make sure you remember to do that. And then to share your documents finally, you can click the button, here I'll draw a little arrow, just to the right of the back button. There's a little box with an arrow out of it, and that's all the different ways to share. So one thing that isn't as good about Notability is if you record here, you can only export it as a note. You can't export it as a movie or a PDF. You can, but you'll lose your recording. So if you want to record the lectures and draw notes as you're recording, and you want them to show up in real time, you have to export it as a PDF. As a note. So if you click the share button in the bottom, it'll give you the options, and you can choose the format of note. And then you can share that note. And you can share it through email or Dropbox or Google Drive. So it's very accessible. And then the last option that's a lot of fun is the type of paper you use. So that's sort of like a funky thing to fool around with. There's a little wrench icon in the top right corner, and if you click paper there, you can pick line paper or graph paper if you're doing calculations or anything like that. There are also some really fun options, so sort of something to have fun with and enjoy. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much.